Hi everyone, we are CookBook Library, and my name is Christina Lee.
My name is David Hall.
I'm Samuel Anderson.
And my name is Tristan Talbert. So I'm going to give a quick little intro to the problem that we chose to solve. So if any of you are home cooks yourselves, you'll understand that it can be kind of difficult to find a recipe online that you want to cook for dinner. And when you finally do find a recipe, you often find that these are very slow to load. And then when the page finally does come up, you get bombarded by advertisements, and the view is just very cluttered overall. And then on top of all this, you often have to scroll to the very bottom of the screen through an entire blog post just to get to the recipe portion of the page. And then if you pull these recipes up on your phone, you find that they're even worse on mobile most of the time. Those ads that take up a portion on your laptop now take up almost the entire relevant content on your screen. And substitutions can be very difficult if you need to account for a dietary restriction as well. Organization of these websites can be very difficult. I know on my phone, my bookmarks tab is full of recipes that I've made over the years. And this leads into the fact that meal planning can be a challenge for whether it's for the week, for the month, figuring out what and when you're going to cook a meal can be very difficult using this system. So now I'm going to pass it off to David, and he's going to give you a demo and go over our solution to the problem.
All right, thanks, Tristan. Now I'm going to go over our app. So when you launch the app, you are taken to the splash screen. From here, you can sign up using our account creation. We're going to just go ahead and sign in using my existing account. And when you first get into the app, you are taken to your library screen. Here you can see the recipes I have saved. You can, on all the screens that have recipes, you can filter based off of tags, ingredients, the type of cuisine. Let's start with taking a look at the profile page. So here's the profile page. You can see your recipes listed here, and let's take a look at this preferences tab. Here you can add your preferences. As you can see, I have sugar, garlic, onion, flour liked, and mushrooms disliked, and a restriction of porks. These end up getting used to help curate the explore page, which we will look at further on. And we also have a friends, a social aspect of the app, so you can add friends. As you can see, we can take a look. I have one friend added on this account. And then let's just take a quick look at this edit profile tab. Here you can edit any of your credentials, and then we also have this customization option where you can change the way the app looks. So for this demo, let's use berry and let's put it on dark mode. And now the rest of the app will follow that theme. All right, now let's look at how you can add recipes. So this big plus button is going to be the main way that you add recipes. You can do this 3 different ways. You can either enter in a URL to a online recipe, and our website will basically scrape that recipe and get all the information out of it. You can manually enter in all the ingredients yourself, or you can click this Browse Recipe button, which just links you to the Explore page. Let's take a look at what happens when you scrape a recipe. All right, I found a recipe for some baked ziti online, so we'll go ahead and enter in that URL. And then it grabs all the information from that website. Here you can add any customization, like the ease of cooking you want to put it at, optional, and then any tags, any optional tags you want to include with it. So let's just scroll down here, kind of verify everything. Looks good. And then it will also get the image if one exists. There's this marker to make it public. This allows it to be found on the Explore page versus something that would just appear in your personal library. So let's go ahead and save that recipe. And here is the general recipe view. We have a few notable features in here. This sleep mode is to prevent your phone from turning off. It kind of overrides the default screen off settings. We can scale a recipe however you'd like. You can download a PDF, or if you want to report the recipe for whatever reason, you can click that and report it. We have this price estimator that basically checks to see how much that recipe is going to cost based off of all the ingredients. And you can see that it estimated that this recipe is going to cost about $18. So there's also a substitution option where you can basically, it'll give you some suggestions for some substitutions. So let's say I didn't want to use marinara sauce in this recipe. I could see what other options you have, and it's suggesting fresh red tomatoes instead. There is also, if you scroll down, there are these highlighted words. You can go ahead and click on those, and it takes you to a little tutorial on what that is. And you can, it'll link you to a YouTube video with instructions on how to do that action. And then further down, we can see any tags, and we can add any. So if I wanted to add this to like an Italian cuisine tag, I could add it there. And then there's also 2 other things you can do. You can add it to local albums, which are essentially just groups of recipes within your library. And then there's also household, which you can add other users to your household and then have a shared set of, basically a shared album with the household. You can also edit or delete the recipe if you'd like. And with that, let's take a look at our Explore page on how you can find and curate a bunch of recipes for yourself. So up here, you can see there is a little suggestion bar, and this is suggesting things, and it kind of tells you why. So this one, it's suggesting this secret ingredient beef stew because I like flour and garlic. So if we go ahead and click on that, we can just view this recipe if you want to just check it out once. or if you ended up liking it or wanted to save it for later, you could add it to your own library. Also on that Explore page is a good time to show you how our filtering works. So you can just kind of filter based off of specific title of an ingredient or of a recipe, actual ingredients within that recipe, different tags that that recipe falls under. So you have this actual filters button that you can click and kind of go in more depth and find something more specific. So let me do that for you right now. So let's say I had some eggs on hand, and I was feeling some American food. I could put those two in, click apply, and then we can see any recipes that fall under those categories. So another cool feature we have in our library is the albums tab up top. Essentially, I have like one created right here. So I have a lunch album, and you can see the recipes that I have added to that album. And let's just go ahead and add another one, see how it works. So I can click this Add to Album button, check the album that I would like to add it to. Now when I go back to my library and click on that album, I can see those two recipes in there. Now the final area that I want to look at on our app is the meal calendar, and this one's pretty in-depth. You have the ability to plan out a bunch of recipes. So as you can see on this day, I have a cheeseburger meatloaf planned. And basically how this works is I can just click on any day, click Add Meal, and then I can search a recipe. So let's say I wanted to make a baked chicken that day. And now we see it shows up for that day. And another really cool thing about how this works is this tab up top, we basically will add all of the items that are associated with that recipe to a grocery list for you to help you with your shopping at the grocery store. This is also linked up with the households feature, so anyone in your household can add items to the specific household. And another cool feature with how this grocery list works is if you pre-populate in this pantry tab, so I already have flours and eggs in my pantry, then on my actual grocery list, we can see that those items are actually not showing up because I already have them. And if you scroll down to the very bottom, we can see that I actually have these items in the recipe. And it's pretty smart because if a recipe calls for, let's say it calls for 2 eggs and I had 6 in my pantry, then it will actually show that I have 10 left, for example, or however many cups of flour or whatever amount of ingredient that you put in your pantry. And with that, that shows off all the major features of our app. And I will hand it off to Sam to talk about how we built it.
Thanks, David. For front end, we ended up using a combination of React Native and Expo Go to get our application up and running. React Native made it so we can develop for both iOS and Android in a method that we only code once, which was really nice. And we used Expo Go as a way to push our development in progress to phones, whether an emulated one or a physical device, so we could test with it, see how it looks, and see how we wanted to change how it worked. For our backend, we used Django because of its integrated authentication system that it has set up for us, which has been very nice to work with. We have OpenAI, which has helped with ingredient substitutions in the ingredient page, as well as the recipe cost analysis, an estimator that is also on the recipe page. And for the recipe scraping, we found a GitHub repository recipe scraper that is listed down there as well. For our database, we use PostgreSQL, which has been very nice to work with as it integrates very well with JSON and sending and receiving JSON format to either add or receive from the database. And this is all hosted on our own AWS server that is currently live and that you can go and look at that Christina will cover later. Speaking of which, I will now pass it off to Christina so she can go ahead and do that for you.
Thank you, Sam. So throughout our development process, we have about 20 user studies, and that has greatly helped us in choosing what features to include, not include, or even improve, especially within our UI as well. We have 73 tests integrated into our CI pipeline. We have 63 API endpoints, connecting the backend to the front end. We have over 107 GitLab issues completed as of right now. We have over 300 commits split between the 4 team members. We have 17 custom-made UI screens, over 300 recipes in our current database, and hopefully as more users use our app, we'll have more and more recipes to come. And then with our hosted backend, we have accessibility for iOS, Android, and web apps. And so anyone with any device can connect to our app. And with that, if you want to try out our app for yourself, you can check us out at www.cookbooklibrary.site. Enjoy cooking!